Good morning. The meeting of the Louisiana Tax Commission is hereby called to order. The meeting is being held at the office of the Louisiana Tax Commission at 1051 North 3rd Street, Suite 225, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. The date is Wednesday, February 26, 2025. The time is 9 a.m. Please call the roll.
Chairman Roussel.
Here.
Commissioner Leone.
Here.
Commissioner Romick.
Here.
Commissioner Guidry.
Here.
Commissioner Frazier.
Here.
5 present and a quorum.
Thank you. There being no old business, we'll move on to the approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve minutes for both the February 5th and February 12th meetings.
There is a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Shandrika Banks on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today we have a total of 2,475 change orders. Staff has reviewed those change orders and requests to approve 2,402 and place 73 in pending status. Staff requests approval of these change orders.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the 2,402 change orders and place 73 of those in pending status for reasons given by staff.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Shandrika Banks on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today we have a total of 35 prior pending change orders. Staff has reviewed those change orders and requests to approve 34 and keep 1 remaining in pending status. Staff requests approval of the prior pending change orders.
Mr. Chair, I move to approve 34 of the prior pending change orders and keep 1 remaining in pending status as reviewed and requested by staff.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Shandrika Banks on behalf of the Louisiana Tax Commission. Today we have a total of 7 tax sale cancellations. 6. We have 2 in Lafayette Parish due to being erroneously sold, 1 in Vermilion Parish due to being erroneously sold, 2 in East Baton Rouge due to being erroneously sold, and 1 in Livingston due to being duly assessed. Staff requests approval of 6 tax sale cancellations.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the 6 tax sale cancellations.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Okay, next we'll take up the decision for the Regency for tax years 2022 and 2023.
Mr. Chair, given that the presentation, arguments, and evidence presented by the parties for tax years 2022 and 2023 being virtually identical to the presentation, argument, and evidence presented for tax years 2020 and 2021, and also given the pendency of the judicial review proceedings regarding tax years 2020 and 2021, I find no justification to deviate from the prior Commission's analysis and conclusions. Therefore, I move that we adopt the reasoning and analysis as found and articulated by the prior Commission, and therefore adopt the values requested by the taxpayer.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Okay, next we will take up the motion to reconsider ruling filed by David A. Stryker in the following appeals. The 307 Company LLC versus Assessor L.G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-72071, and A. Stryker Properties LLC versus Assessor L.G. Williams and the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-72072, and 23221-74029.
Taxpayer, I'm going to swear you both in if you'll both raise your right hands before you come to the mics. Do you swear or affirm testimony about to give the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Your name? Thank you. Thank you. Y'all can have a seat. Chairman, y'all are aware of what's before you, but just as a reminder, the taxpayer had filed a motion for continuance and extension of the deadlines as imposed by our case management order with regard to the submission of exhibits. The continuance was granted by the chair, but the request for extension of deadlines was denied. The taxpayer is effectively requesting reconsideration of the chair's ruling with regard to the extension of the deadlines to the full commission. It's the taxpayer's request, so appropriate for him to go first, and then Mr. Amaras can respond.
May it please the commission. I'll stand up out of respect. Okay. I'm David A. Stryker. I appreciate the commission hearing my motion for reconsideration. In a nutshell, I had hired an attorney to represent my interest in this matter, and I had paid him several $1,000s to handle this matter. During the pendency of this matter, the attorney had pre-existing cancer, and it was necessary for him to undergo significant chemotherapy. In order to do that, he had to withdraw representing me, leaving me without representation. Upon inquiry, I found out that there was no witness and exhibit list had been filed, even though I paid him to represent me. No disrespect to him because he was probably under a great deal of stress, and I do not want to put him under the bus, so to speak, but I also have to make this commission aware of the facts. When I found out that he was withdrawing, I called the commission and inquired if I could either one of two things, file a continuance, or if the witness and exhibit list had been timely filed. I filed the continuance in the matter and asked that it extend the witness and exhibit list time to file it. Upon filing the matter, the chairman was kind enough to grant me a motion to continue this matter so I could probably get new attorney to represent my interests because my prior attorney is still undergoing chemotherapy. Ironically, the motion to extend the witness and exhibit list deadline was not granted. I filed a motion to reconsider this, saying that it would be like sending a gladiator into the ring without a sword. And I think it's reason and fairness would dictate, as a taxpayer, I should not be flogged or punished because of a error that a gentleman that was representing me might have made. Once again, I don't want to point the finger at him because he's in difficult circumstances, but I also have to protect my interests. So the issue before you is the continuance was granted on the matter, but I was not allowed to have the extension of the witness and exhibit list. And I would request that fairness, logic, and reason would permit me to file a witness and exhibit list. There's no harm done because the matter is continued. So the deadlines at least should be continued as well. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer it. I thank this commission for allowing me to come forward and say that as the innocent taxpayer who paid someone to represent him, I don't think I should be punished because of that. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir. I have one question.
Yes,
Were
sir.
those exhibits, witness lists furnished to the assessor prior to the Board of Review? Prior to?
I don't know. I think so. I think so because they were the same people that were in before the Board of Review. There was nothing new. I was going to submit the photos of the damages and the people that had been involved with the preparation of the estimate, which they had in hand. There was one witness, Mr. Mark Graves, who was a construction expert, who did a report that was furnished to them prior to the Board of Review. So there was nothing new that was thrown out of left field towards them. In other words, I'm not asking that these things be bent. I'm saying that they should have had everything. And also, just by way of background, I talked to Mr. Alvarez, or I wrote him, emailed him, told him what I needed, and he indicated that, and once again, this is not before the commission, but there was a very good chance that we would resolve our differences, hopefully. That was the gist of his correspondence to me by way of email.
I have one question, Mr.
But
Chairman.
before we move on, I want to ask the city of New Orleans, did y'all receive the documents he's trying to submit now to the, asking for an extension from the commission?
No.
That was my question, Mr. Chairman, what you just
The-
asked.
The only correspondence that I have from Mr. A. Stryker is the income and expense statement that he provided to me after the Super Bowl, when we spoke right around that Super Bowl week, to see if we could try to come to some kind of a settlement agreement or some kind of like valuation decrease that we could both live with. But that is the only correspondence that I have from Mr. A. Stryker.
May I respond, please? I will say that in my correspondence with him, there are three matters that were continued, three properties. Two of the three that Mr. Alvarez said that he would ask me to consider dropping my appeal on those two properties. The third property, he said, we have room to negotiate. When he said that, I responded by sending him the income and expenses on that property.
Yes.
And I figured that it would be resolved before today because I've spent a considerable amount of time and money getting here. I've moved, my wife and I, since I retired, I moved out of state. And so I'm here I was hoping it would be unnecessary to be here today. And I will say that there was nothing, although he said I didn't provide the documents, as I said earlier, there's nothing that were not used in the review before the Board of Review. There was nothing that I'm going to submit that is new and unusual. All I was going to do is introduce the same matter before this commission. So I'm not trying to pull a rabbit out of a hat, so to speak.
Okay, thank you. Questions from the commission? Hearing none, do I hear a motion?
I'm gonna make a request to deny, to reconsider the deadline for the exhibits to be filed.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Okay, we will move on to our appeals portion of the agenda for today.
We did give him a continuance. We're just not rescinding the application. Yeah, just for purpose of clarification in the minutes, a continuance was granted for this taxpayer's appeals. There were three on the docket. One of them has been withdrawn. So those appeals will be continued, but based on the commission's ruling today, the deadlines will not be resurrected. But you will hear those appeals at a later date. All right, good morning. If you'll be testifying in any of the appeals on today's docket, I'll have you go ahead and stand up where you're seated. In order to testify at the table, you have to be sworn in and they'll administer an oath to you. So if y'all are testifying, I'll have you go ahead and stand up. I will administer the oath to everyone in the room. I will indicate to you individually to affirm the oath, and I will ask that you state your name. Please raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yeah, both and I do.
Thank you.
I affirm.
Thank you, sir.
David Mejia, I do.
Thank you.
Frederick Miller, I do.
Thank you. Thank you. Y'all may have a seat. Appraisers, same exercise as always. Please unmute, turn your video on if it works. I'll have you raise your right hands. I'll administer an oath. I'll indicate to you individually to affirm that oath. Nicole, you're still muted. Great. Please raise your right hands. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? George?
George Wallace, I do.
Nicole?
Nicole Singley, I do.
Josh?
Joshua Laverne, I do.
Danny?
Daniel Blanchard, I do.
Paul?
I do.
Thank you.
The first appeal we'll take up this morning is the appeal of Jamie E. Reynolds versus Assessor L.G. Williams on the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-76241.
All right. Good morning, Chairman. Gregory Miller for the Orleans Parish Assessors Office. We're looking at the property at 4528 South Saratoga Street. Our original assessment value was $379,900. The Louisiana Tax Commission appraisal was $333,000 based on some information that we gathered from the Tax Commission appraisal based on condition and some deferred maintenance. We offered the taxpayer settlement of $275,000 and did not get a response from that.
From the LTC appraiser?
Yes, sir. I inspected this property and appraised it at $333,000 for the whole property and using 96.6 as the land value.
Questions from the commission?
I have one question to the Orleans Parish. Would you give me the breakdown of what y'all proposed to them, just to
Yes,
make
sir.
sure we got?
Breakdown is $96,600 for land, $178,400 for improvements, for a total of $275,000.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to go with the settlement that was offered by the Orleans Parish for $275,000. That's $96,600 for the land and $178,400 for the improvement.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Next, we'll take up the appeal of Floyd Peacock versus Assessor L.G. Williams on the Orleans Parish Board of Review, docket number 23221-73072.
You can go ahead, sir.
I'm here. I'm here. Our property was destroyed during Hurricane Katrina. The two houses that we had on each lot was destroyed. Habitat for Humanity said that each one of these properties, after the houses was destroyed, was valued at no more than $5,000. Everybody in the neighborhood received those same type of appraisals from Habitat for Humanity, a company that builds houses all over the United States of America. And their appraisers said they was valued at no more than $5,000 each. Some of the neighbors, they sold theirs for that. Some of the others, they went ahead and tried to build something. Some of the others, like me, just tried to do what we could to hold it. Something might break, to try to build on the properties.
City of New Orleans?
Yes, we're looking at the property at 2437 Congress Street. It is a vacant lot. The original valuation was $12,300. The board review upheld that value. The Louisiana Tax Commission appraisal was $33,500, which our individual appraisal also was $33,500. Based on the original value being very conservative and all the other values being much higher, we're just asking to reaffirm our original value of $12,300.
Okay, thank you. We'll hear from the LTC appraiser, Paul.
Paul Bennett, Louisiana Tax Commission. I personally appraised the property at 2437 Congress Street. With it being just vacant land, there was only a land value of $33,500.
Okay, questions from the commission? Hear none, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I call for a motion to accept the city's value of $12,300 on the property.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Next, we'll take up the appeal of Alma Peacock, docket number 23221733074.
It's the same situation. When the hurricane hit, it hit both properties at the same time and destroyed both of them. And Habitat for Humanity told us the same thing about that one as well. No more than $5,000. Then they appraised everybody property, and it wasn't just ours, everybody back there. And some of them did sell. Some was able to rebuild. Some, like me, still trying to deal with taking care of it best we could with the help of Jesus Christ.
City of New Orleans?
Yeah, this property again is very similar. It's a little bit larger lot in a slightly different location, 4910 Congress Street. Our original valuation was $33,000. Board review upheld that valuation. Our independent appraisal was $46,200 based on similar sales in the area. Louisiana Tax Commission's appraisal was $39,600. Again, our original value appears to be very conservative based on all other values being higher. And we're just asking that the original value be upheld.
Thank you. We'll hear from the LTC appraiser. Josh?
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Josh Laverne, LTC appraiser, inspected and appraised the property at 4910 Congress Street. The subject property is a vacant lot measuring about 6,600 square feet. Sales comparison approach produced a range of $5.37 a square foot to $6.62 a square foot. Therefore, the $6 a square foot is justifiable, producing a value of $39,600.
Thank you, Josh. Questions from the commission?
Mr. Chair, I have two questions, if I may. Mr. Peacock, you quote the Habitat for Humanity. When was that provided to you? Just after Hurricane Katrina at that time?
Hurricane hit.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yes. And for City of New Orleans, just noting certainly that 25 block difference, I imagine, just given the addresses between the previous property to this property. This price per square at 4910 is twice that of 2437.
That is
And the $5 per square is comparable to all other land values in that neighborhood of the
Yes.
4910
The comparable sales on the appraisals were in very similar locations.
in taxation.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any additional questions from the commission? Hearing none, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I move to accept the city's request of $33,000 for the land.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
It's a different neighborhood.
Okay, next we'll take up the appeal of Theodore J. Longo, docket number 23221710005.
City of New Orleans?
You want to move the stuff over there, or you want to?
Good morning, David Mejia, Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. This is a 731 St. Charles, the condominium unit 401. Our 2024 valuation valued the property at $932,300. The tax commission appraisal came in at $900,000, and our independent analysis came in at $983,000. The $900,000 is well within an acceptable range for us. The value seems well supported, and we'd be fine at 900. It seems like all the values are pretty tight and affirmed by the board review as well.
Okay, we'll hear from the LTC appraiser. George?
Yes, sir. George Wallace. I did appraise the property at 731 St. Charles Avenue. It's unit number 401, and I appraised it for $900,000. It's a condo, but it has an allocated, value to the land at 35,400 and, 864,600 to the improvements.
Thank you. Questions from the commission? Hearing none, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I call for a motion to accept the city agreeing with the LTC appraisal of $900,000, which is $35,400 of land, improvements $864,600, total of $900,000.
We have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Is there any objection to the motion? Hearing none, motion is adopted.
Okay, our final appeal of the morning is the appeal of Geraldine M. Hagel, docket number 2322172-186.
City of New Orleans.
Good morning, Commissioners. Again, Gregory Miller for the Orleans Parish Assessor's Office. We're looking at the property at 5508 Woodlawn Place. It is a vacant lot. Our original value was $150,000. That was upheld by the Board of Review. All subsequent values, Louisiana Tax Commission appraisal value was $208,500. Our independent appraisal value was $264,000. Looks like all other values are considerably higher, and again, we're just asking for the original value to be upheld.
Okay. LTC appraiser, Tad?
Paul Bennett, Louisiana Tax Commission. I personally appraised the property at 5508 Woodlawn Place, with a land value of $208,500.
Thank you, Paul. Sorry, my sheet said Tad, not Paul, so my bad.
That's all right.
Okay. Any questions from the commission? If not, do I hear a motion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to accept the Orleans Parish requested value of $150,000.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted. Any other business to come before the commission? Well, before we adjourn, I'm gonna move that we make Russell sit in the back all the time, because it sure goes quick when he's not at the table. Okay, do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chair, I call for a motion to adjourn.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there any discussion? Is there any objection? Hearing none, motion is adopted. We are adjourned at 9:27 a.m. Thank you all.